All right. So you sent over this whole handbook on Gemini for Google Workspace.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're really wanting to figure out just how to use it well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Having AI right there inside the tools you use all the time, that's exciting stuff.
It really is.
But
Yeah.
all the things that Gemini can do in Gmail and Docs and Sheets even meet it. Could be a bit much, honestly.
If you can.
Let's try to break it all down and figure out how to make this AI work for you.
Sounds good.
What I find really interesting is how Gemini is like woven into all of Google Workspace.
Yeah.
It's not just one AI tool.
It really isn't. Right.
It's more like having this super skilled assistant
Yeah.
that knows exactly how you use each of those apps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guide keeps mentioning this idea of prompts.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, when I first saw that word,
Oh, yeah.
I kind of felt intimidated.
Oh, I understand that.
Like, do I need to learn how to code to talk to it?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
But one of the best things about Gemini is it uses natural language. You don't have to be a programmer.
Got it.
You can think of it as talking to a colleague,
Okay.
just one who's really good at following instructions
Right.
and getting things done.
I like that.
And what's interesting is the guide actually says that the average effective prompt
Mm-hmm.
is only about 21 words,
Oh, wow.
much shorter than you'd think.
Okay, so less coding, more casual conversation.
Exactly.
Got it. But how do we make sure those conversations are actually helpful? Like, what are the keys to giving Gemini the right instructions?
So the guide lays out 4 core elements
Okay.
for making your prompts effective.
Right.
Persona, task, context, and format.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're telling Gemini who it's pretending to be,
Right.
what you need it to do,
Okay.
what background information it needs,
Okay.
and how you want the results.
So like instead of just saying, write me a poem, I could say, you are a poet who writes like Maya Angelou. Write a poem about finishing a big project.
That's a great example. And you started with a clear verb there, write, which is really important.
Okay.
Always start with a clear command to set the task.
Right.
And then you gave context by assigning the persona and saying the style and topic.
Yeah.
The better your instructions, the
Right.
better the output.
So it's almost like we're training a new employee.
That's a good way to think about it.
Be clear, be specific, and with a little practice, we'll get amazing results. I like that. Now, the guide dives into different roles and how they can use Gemini. I think it would be helpful to walk through a few examples
Okay.
so our listeners can really get a sense of how this could work in their day-to-day. Let's start with something I think a lot of people will relate to. Imagine you're a marketing specialist. You just got back from vacation, you're ready to get back to work, and bam, thousands of unread emails.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Not the most welcoming sight
Oh, it's not?
to come back to,
Definitely not.
but thankfully, Gemini in Gmail can help with that.
It can...
The guide actually suggests prompting Gemini with, summarize emails from your manager's name from the last week. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Instead of going through every single email,
Right.
you get like a quick summary of the important stuff from your manager.
Exactly.
And it's not just a list of subject lines.
Right.
It gives you actual summaries of the email content.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like using AI to take care of those boring tasks.
Yeah.
That frees up your time to do more strategic work.
That's the idea.
And get this.
What's...
Gemini even has this thing called sources that
Yeah.
links back to the original email. So you can jump to anything that needs your attention right away. Pretty slick.
Very cool.
Okay, so now that we're all caught up on emails,
Right.
let's say we need to actually create some marketing stuff,
Okay.
like maybe brainstorm ideas for a new brand campaign. I'm guessing Gemini can help with that too.
Of course. You could be in a Google Doc staring at that blank page.
Oh, the worst.
For worse.
And turn to Gemini for a little creative boost.
Uh,
The guide suggests saying something like, generate 3 options for a new slogan, emphasizing reliability, innovation, and a long history of popularity for your company name.
perfect.
Wow, that's really cool. But wouldn't that just give you like generic slogans that could apply to any company?
So it's all about giving Gemini the right context.
Right.
Remember those 4 elements we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
By saying your company's name
Yeah,
and the key things you want to emphasize,
Right.
you're guiding the AI
got it.
to make slogans that are unique to your brand.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It really is about having that back and forth conversation,
it is.
learning to communicate effectively
Yeah.
with Gemini to get the results you need. So we've seen how it can help with email overload
Yeah.
and brainstorming creative content.
Right.
What about something like project management?
Yeah, so project managers are always juggling a million things
Right.
and trying to keep everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
The guide suggests using Gemini Advanced to really streamline this process,
Right.
especially when it comes to making a project plan.
All right, let's say I'm a project manager starting a new website development project.
Okay.
What kind of prompt would help me get started?
So imagine you're leading the development of a new website feature.
Okay.
You could prompt Gemini Advanced with something like,
Mm-hmm.
I am a technical project manager at your company name, overseeing project name and brief description.
Right.
The project has the following scope, detailed scope of the project. Our project goals are list of goals.
Okay.
Our project deliverables are list of deliverables.
All right.
Our budget is budget amount, and our delivery date is target date.
Right.
Help me create a work-back schedule to keep the team on track. Include dates for key milestones and demos.
That's a pretty detailed prompt,
It is.
but it makes sense. We're basically giving Gemini like the entire project brief.
You are?
So how does it take all that info and turn it into something useful?
So what's amazing is that Gemini will take all those details.
Yeah.
And it will generate a work-back schedule. Oh, wow.
With key milestones and even suggested dates for demos.
Really?
It's like having an AI project manager working with you,
That's pretty amazing.
helping keep everything organized
Wow.
and on track.
Wow. That's a game changer. I'm starting to see how this could totally change the way we work.
It can.
But before we get too carried away with all these cool features, I think it's important to address something that might be on our listeners' mind. All this AI magic is great. What about privacy? Is Gemini reading all my emails?
Yeah, that's a valid question.
Analyzing my documents and storing all my data?
The guide is actually very clear about that.
Okay, good.
Your data is not used to train Gemini's models
Okay.
or for any targeted advertising.
So it's like having a personal assistant who's sworn to secrecy.
Exactly.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
We've seen how Gemini can be super helpful for marketing specialists and project managers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there.
In the next part, we'll explore how Gemini can revolutionize the way executive assistants work, streamlining their tasks and freeing up their time for more strategic stuff.
Sounds good. And we'll also take a look at how Gemini can empower sales teams to personalize their pitches, close deals faster, and ultimately drive more revenue. It's going to be fascinating to see how this AI can transform the way we approach sales in this digital world.
For sure. All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
Welcome back. We were just discussing how Gemini has this potential to just completely change the way people work in a variety of roles.
Yeah, it really is incredible to see the range of tasks and challenges this AI can help with.
It is.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
I agree.
Like what's possible.
Well, let's keep digging then.
Okay.
We've got a few more roles to cover, and I think you'll find the examples in the guide just as interesting as the ones we've already discussed.
Okay, I'm ready for more. Who's up next in our journey through Gemini?
Let's talk about sales.
Okay.
You know, it's such an important part of any business, and the guide really highlights how Gemini can help sales teams be more efficient and effective.
Right, and in the world of sales, personalization is everything.
It is.
You want to make sure that your message is really connecting with each individual customer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how Gemini can help achieve that.
So let's say you're an account executive, and you just landed a new client.
Congrats.
Congratulations. But
Yeah.
now you have to quickly get up to speed on their business, their needs, and their pain points.
Yeah, the research phase can be so time-consuming. I can imagine it takes a lot of effort to go through websites and articles and news releases just to get a full picture.
Exactly. That's where Gemini Advanced can be a huge help.
Okay.
The guide suggests prompting it with something like this.
Right.
I am an account executive in charge of a new account client's company name. I need to do initial research.
Okay.
What is the market strategy of client's company name?
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. But what kind of information does Gemini give you? Is it just like a general overview, or does it offer more detailed insights?
It goes way beyond a basic overview. Gemini will give you insights into their target audience,
Oh, wow.
their key competitors, and even recent news and announcements that might be relevant.
Oh, okay.
You can also give it specific URLs of articles or press releases,
Yeah.
and it'll summarize the key points for you.
So it's like having a personalized research assistant
Exactly.
who does all the hard work for you. That's incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
Okay, so once you've done your research, you can start putting together that perfect pitch.
Right.
I'm guessing Gemini can help with that too.
Absolutely. So imagine you've identified a specific pain point
Yeah.
that the client is facing.
Okay.
You can then prompt Gemini to draft an email.
Oh, wow.
That explains how your company's solution can address that issue.
So you're using the AI to personalize your message
Exactly.
and make sure it connects with the client's needs.
That's the idea.
It's almost like Gemini is anticipating their questions and objections before they even say them. But what about those times when you're on the go and you need to quickly reply to a client email? I can't imagine trying to type out a long response on my phone.
Yeah, that's where the Gemini mobile app is really helpful.
Okay.
So picture this. You're on your way to a meeting and you get an urgent email from a client.
I've been there.
You can use the Gemini chip in the Gmail app to get a quick summary of the whole email thread.
Okay.
So you can grasp those key points in just a few seconds.
So no more like frantically scrolling through long emails on a tiny screen trying to figure out what's going on.
Exactly.
That's a relief.
And then you can actually prompt Gemini to write a response right from your phone.
Wow, really?
You can acknowledge their message, express that you understand the issue, and let them know you'll follow up with a more detailed solution soon.
So you can stay on top of things even when you're not at your desk.
Yeah.
That would save so much time.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Gemini is all about maximizing efficiency, like taking all those tedious, repetitive tasks off our plate.
Right.
So we can focus on what matters. Building relationships, solving problems, and driving results.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to another critical function in any business.
Yeah.
Customer service.
Right.
How can Gemini help those folks on the front lines of customer interactions?
So customer service is all about being helpful, empathetic, and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And the guide gives a really good example
Okay.
of how Gemini can help in those challenging situations,
Yeah.
where you need to find the right words to de-escalate a situation and keep a customer happy.
Okay, walk me through it. What kind of scenario are we talking about here?
Let's say you're a customer service representative and you're dealing with a frustrated customer who got a damaged product.
Okay.
You've offered to send a replacement,
Right.
but they want expedited shipping, which isn't usually part of your company's policy.
That's a tough spot.
Yeah.
You want to keep the customer happy, but you also need to follow the rules. I bet it takes a lot of skill to handle that kind of situation well.
It does, and that's where Gemini can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
So instead of racking your brain for the perfect response,
Yeah.
you can use Gemini in Google Docs.
Right.
The guide suggests something like, help me craft an empathetic email response.
Mm-hmm.
I am a customer service representative, and I need to create a response to a customer complaint.
Okay.
The customer ordered a pair of headphones that arrived damaged.
Mm-hmm.
They've already contacted us via email and provided pictures of the damage.
Got it.
I've offered a replacement, but they're requesting an expedited shipping option that isn't typically included with their order.
Right.
Include a paragraph that acknowledges their frustration and 3 bullet points with potential resolutions.
That's a pretty specific prompt.
It is.
It's like we're setting the scene for Gemini and giving it all the details it needs to really understand what's going on.
Exactly. And because you've given such clear instructions,
Right.
Gemini will write a well-structured email that acknowledges their frustration, reassures them that their issue is important, and offers solutions that work with your company's policies.
I'm really impressed with how Gemini can tailor these responses to different situations.
It's pretty cool.
It's not just about giving generic answers. It's about really understanding how people interact and creating responses that are helpful and empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you're dealing with a more complicated issue, one that requires looking through a bunch of documents or policies to find the right information?
That's where the integration with Google Drive is super powerful.
Okay.
Imagine a customer has a question about your return policy, but the information is spread out across like a ton of different FAQs and policy documents.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Trying to find a specific piece of info across all those documents can feel impossible.
It can.
Like finding a needle in a haystack.
Right? So instead of wasting time searching, you can ask Gemini in the Drive side panel to summarize the important info.
Yep.
You can even say exactly what you need, like the return window or refund options or anything specific about certain products.
So it's like having a research assistant that knows exactly where to find what you need and then summarizes it in a way that's easy to understand. This is amazing.
It's really helpful.
I feel like we could talk about customer service examples all day, but I know there's another role we wanted to discuss.
You're right. Let's switch gears and talk about startup leaders.
Okay.
These are the people who are building the future, and they face unique challenges
Right.
that require adaptability, creativity, and a willingness to do more with less.
I can only imagine the pressure of building a startup from scratch.
Yeah.
You're wearing so many hats, making big decisions every day, and always trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
So how does Gemini support those entrepreneurial endeavors?
Let's start with one of the most crucial aspects of any startup: fundraising.
Okay.
Imagine you're a founder preparing for a pitch to investors.
All right.
You've poured your heart and soul into your idea, but crafting that perfect pitch can be so nerve-wracking.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You need to grab their attention, convey your vision, and make them believe in your company all in like a few minutes.
Exactly. No pressure, right?
No pressure at all.
So the guide suggests using Gemini Advanced as your personal pitch coach.
Oh, interesting.
You can use voice to text to prompt it with something like, "I'm the founder of your startup name in your industry, and I need help creating a short elevator pitch for your company and product description.
Fun.
I need to make the pitch relevant to your target audience, and I want to especially highlight key features of your product because I want them to encode your desired action.
Mm-hmm.
Include a compelling hook and anticipate questions an investor might have.
All right.
Make the tone professional, but relaxed and confident."
So you're basically talking to Gemini like it's a member of your team,
Right.
asking for its input on how to create a good pitch.
Exactly. And based on what you tell it,
Yeah.
Gemini will create a well-structured pitch that covers all the important points, anticipates potential questions, and even adjusts the tone to fit your audience.
It's like having a whole team of advisors and coaches rolled into one.
It really is.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Okay, let's say you've secured the funding
Right.
and now you're ready to build your team.
Okay.
How can Gemini help with those early hiring decisions?
So picture this. You're the head of operations,
Okay.
and you're interviewing people for a key role.
Right.
The guide suggests uploading the job description to Gemini Advanced
Mm-hmm.
and prompting it to make a list of open-ended interview questions
Oh, interesting.
that are tailored to the specific skills and experience you need.
So instead of using those generic interview questions everyone's heard before, you can use Gemini to come up with questions that are more targeted and give you better insights.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
And once you've made your decision, you can even use Gemini to write those personalized offer letters or those sometimes awkward rejection emails. It's all about automating those tasks.
Yeah.
So you can focus on finding the right people to help you build your dream team.
Okay, from crafting the pitch to making the hiring process easier.
Right.
It's clear that Gemini can really change the game for startup founders.
It can.
But what about the actual product development process? Can Gemini help with that too?
Absolutely. Let's say you're the head of product
Okay.
and you're trying to decide on a launch date for a new feature.
Right.
You're thinking about a few different options,
Yeah.
but you're not sure which one would be best strategically.
Right.
You could prompt Gemini Advanced with something like, "I am head of product at your startup name in your industry.
Go ahead.
We are building a product launch player for product name. I want to brainstorm a few different scenarios.
Right.
We are considering offering the product name at 2 different price points, price point A and price point B, and we are considering launching in month A or month B. Provide pros and cons of each scenario and suggest different ideas we may not have considered."
So it's like having a brainstorming partner.
Exactly.
You can analyze all the different scenarios and help you weigh the pros and cons of each approach.
That's right. And Gemini doesn't just look at the information you provide.
Oh,
It can also look at market data,
really?
giving you insights into your competitors' pricing strategies, how they're positioning their products, and even how they're targeting your audience.
Wow, it's like having a sneak peek into what your competition is doing,
It is.
helping you make smarter decisions about your own product and your go-to-market strategy.
Exactly.
This is incredible. We've covered so much ground in this episode,
We have.
from marketing and sales to customer service, and even how Gemini can help startup founders. It seems like it can really revolutionize the way we work across so many different roles.
It really is a versatile tool.
Right.
And keep in mind, these are just a few examples.
Right.
The guide is packed with scenarios for all sorts of roles and challenges. But the real magic happens when you start trying out your own prompts,
Okay.
tailoring them to your specific needs and seeing what this AI can really do.
That's a great point. It's not just about following the examples in the guide. It's about taking what we've learned and using it for our own unique workflows and challenges.
Yeah,
It's about making Gemini our own.
exactly. And in the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll explore some more advanced prompting techniques that can really take your Gemini skills to the next level.
I like it.
We'll uncover the secrets of iteration, fine-tuning, and really pushing the boundaries of what this AI can do.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It's amazing to think about all the different ways people are already using Gemini in their work. We've talked about so much from marketing and sales to customer service, and even how it can help startup founders.
It really seems like Gemini can change how we work in so many ways.
But like we've been saying, it's all about learning to really communicate well with this AI.
Right. Mastering that art of prompting, understanding those core elements, and learning how to guide Gemini to get what we need. In the last part, you mentioned some more advanced techniques. I'm really interested to hear more about how we can level up our prompting skills and take things even further. So one of the key takeaways from the guide is that prompting is not a one-and-done thing.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process.
Right.
It's not about typing one command and expecting it to be perfect on the first try.
Right.
It's more like a conversation with Gemini.
Okay.
Refining your prompts as you go and trying different things until you get what you want.
Okay, so it's not about being perfect right away.
Yeah,
It's more about learning to have a smarter conversation with Gemini.
exactly.
What are some ways we can have a more helpful dialogue and get better results?
One technique the guide talks about is breaking big tasks down
Right. Okay.
into smaller, more manageable prompts.
Right.
So instead of trying to get Gemini to do everything at once, you give it a series of instructions building on what it's already done.
It's interesting to think of it that way. Instead of giving Gemini this huge assignment, we're breaking it down into smaller pieces, like we're walking it through step by step.
Exactly. Think about working with a person. You wouldn't expect them to understand a complex project from one sentence.
Right.
You break it down, explain what you want, and give feedback along the way.
Right.
It's the same with Gemini.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels less scary now.
Yeah.
So as we get more comfortable with this back and forth, are there other things we can do to make our prompts even better?
Yeah, one thing I like to do is give Gemini a specific role or persona.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that before. It's like we're not just telling it what to do, but who to be. Can you give me an example?
Sure, imagine you're trying to come up with a creative idea for a marketing campaign.
Okay.
Instead of just asking for ideas, you could start your prompt with something like, you are the head of a creative department at a big ad agency. Brainstorm 3 innovative campaign concepts for eco-friendly sneakers aimed at millennials who care about the environment.
So we're giving Gemini like a pretend job title and setting the scene for a more focused response. Does that actually change the quality of the results?
It can definitely make a difference.
Right.
By giving Gemini that persona, you're encouraging it to think in a specific way,
Right.
to tap into a different creative mindset. It's
Okay.
like giving an actor a script and asking them to play a certain character.
Right.
It can help unlock new ideas.
Wow, that's really cool. It's like we're finding hidden personalities within the AI by giving it different roles.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what other creative things we could do. The guide also mentions constraints. And honestly, that word makes me think of limits. Can you explain how constraints actually help with prompting?
Yeah, so constraints are about setting boundaries, giving Gemini specific guidelines.
Okay.
It's not about limiting its creativity. It's more about focusing that creativity on what you need.
So instead of saying, write me a poem, we could say, write me a haiku about the feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And by adding that haiku rule, we're helping Gemini create something specific and with more meaning.
Right. By adding constraints, you're helping Gemini ignore irrelevant ideas and focus on what you really need.
I'm starting to see how these techniques can take our prompting skills to a whole new level. It's not just giving orders. It's about having a deeper conversation with Gemini and guiding it to get what we want. Any other tips before we finish up?
One last tip is don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Oh, okay.
In Gemini Advanced, you can actually talk to the AI.
Yeah.
Tell it about your project and what you want to achieve, and then ask, what questions do you have for me that would help you give me the best possible results?
Wow. So we can have Gemini interview us.
You can. And by having this dialogue, you're helping Gemini understand what you need even better.
Right.
You're giving it the context to create something that matches your vision.
I love that. It's like we're really teaming up with the AI to create something amazing. So we've talked about basic prompts and these more advanced techniques. It seems like there's a lot to learn. What's the most important thing you hope people listening will take away from this deep dive?
I think the key thing to remember is that Gemini is a tool,
Right.
but it's a tool unlike anything we've seen before.
Hmm.
It's not meant to replace us. It's here to help us be better,
Right.
to work smarter, be more creative, and achieve things we never thought we could.
It's not about us versus the machine. It's about us working together with the machine.
Mm.
And learning how to talk to AI is how we make that partnership work.
And even though generative AI is incredibly powerful and has so much potential,
Yeah.
it's still pretty new. It's important to remember that prompts can sometimes give unexpected results. So always check what Gemini gives you before you use it.
That's a good point. Just
Mhm.
like any tool we have to use it carefully and thoughtfully.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into Gemini for Google Workspace. It's been an amazing journey. It really has. We've seen how Gemini can be a powerful tool for so many different people and challenges. But the real excitement begins when you start experimenting, trying new things, and discovering what this AI can do for you.
To everyone listening, as you start your own journey with Gemini, I encourage you to embrace that exploration. Don't be afraid to try new things, ask questions, and see what incredible things you can achieve when you combine your own human ingenuity with the power of AI. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.